Dear Thomas Schmidt, Co-Secretary General of the ELDH, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much for the invitation. And let me
Thank you.
first explain to you about EADH, what kind of
Yes, please.
association it is. It's a European Association of Lawyers for Democracy and Human Rights. And we have members in 22 European countries. And two of our member organizations are based in Turkey. One is the CHD, and the Contemporary Lawyers Organization, and the other one is the OHD, which is the Lawyers for Peace.
Thank you, Thomas. So today's main topic is Mr. Abdullah Ocalan, Kurdish leader Mr. Abdullah Ocalan, and the isolation on him. So we will try to talk with the law basis with you about what's going on isolation on Öcalan. So first of all, as you know, the isolation on Mr. Öcalan still continues on the 25th year of his captivity now. Is there any ongoing process by the ELDH or maybe European lawyers regarding his potential benefiting from the right to hope, as well as also the lifting of the isolation against Mr. Öcalan that Turkey implies on him. So, if so, what is the current status now? And is there any ongoing case at the ECHR? At what stage is this cases, if there is any?
Yes, of course. Well, you know, the ELDH has undertaken many efforts to help Mr. Öcalan to well to get out of prison, but of course to get his prison sentence reduced. And when you talk about the hope or the right to hope, you mean that the Mr. Öcalan should have the right to reduce his prison sentence so that he doesn't have to serve his prison sentence till the rest of his life. And of course, he can always try this. But this is in the European law. I don't know about the Turkish law, but in the European law, the right to hope is not written down, but it is an element of the right against torture, and so and of and therefore of Article 3 of the European Convention on Human Rights, and therefore EADH has written a lot of appeals to the Turkish government to respect to the Mr. Öcalan's rights. And it is very important for us that also, like the CPT, it is very important to us that Mr. Öcalan has the possibility to receive his lawyers and his families. And now he has almost 5 years, he couldn't see anybody. And so this is where many lawyers organizations and also the CPT are aware of this situation. And I know that many lawyers think that the CPT doesn't do his work correctly or properly. But the CPT has made numerous visits to Turkey in recent years. These have concerned various prisons in Turkey, including İmralı. The last visit took place 4 weeks ago. On this occasion, 6 prisons were visited by the CPT. However, there was no visit to İmralı this time.
You talked about the CPT. The CPT has responsibilities, but since they haven't taken any action in the last 3 years specifically, it seems they don't consider the isolation as unlawful. Do you think? Because the isolation should be unlawful, but if they don't do nothing for 3 years, that does that mean for the CPT, the isolation is unlawful. How do you describe this situation? How it can could be challenged? Like what can be done against this? Both the silence of the CPT and Turkey's failure to implement the ECHR decisions, because there is some decisions that ECHR has done, as well as the Council of Europe as well, but Turkey fails to implement these decisions. So let's start with that one, and then we will come to the CPT's last visit.
Well, I don't agree with you that the CPT has violated the law, because you have to understand you have to understand the legal restrictions, and the CPT doesn't have so many possibilities. The main task of the CPT is to collect evidence and to visit countries, and the countries are there are countries which refuse the CPT to enter the country and to gather evidence, like Azerbaijan. And up to now, Turkey accepted the visits, but they do not accept the publication of the report of the CPT.
Thank you, dear Thomas. Still, uh, anything you would like to mention about what can be done against, in the law base, of course, what can be done against to Turkey's fails to implement the ECHR decisions, and as well as against to the CPT as well, because it's one of the CPT's responsibility to clearly read out the reports. But how can we clear that on our audience mind? People who watches it, how should they understand? How should the CPT works, and what needs to be done to push Turkey to implement the decisions that has been taken by CPT as well as the ECHR or the European Council?
I think the legal remedies are limited. And I think it's still the task of the CPT seems to be important, because during the meeting with the government representatives, the recent visit, also the problems on Imrali were discussed, in particular the problem of the isolation of prisoners. I think this was very important, and since the CPT mentioned this in his press release, even if they didn't mention the name, the press release can only refer to Mr. Öcalan's prison conditions, which the CPT has criticized before. But the CPT doesn't have much possibilities to do anything. They even are not allowed by the law to publish their report. And but since the latest CPT press release explicitly mentions the discussion of the problems of Imrali, in particular the isolation, the CPT thus expresses its criticism of the Turkish government for the fact that it has so far received no or no satisfactory response from the Turkish government to its last report on Imrali. It is therefore wrong to claim that the CPT has done nothing in the last 3 years to bring Mr. Öcalan's conditions of detention into line with the law. It is also wrong to claim that the CPT is violating the law. I'm sorry, but, maybe you don't agree with me, but I have to mention this. So
Yeah, exactly.
now your question was how the legal fight against isolation of
Can be
Öcalan
done.
could
Yeah.
be. And I have no doubt that Mr. Öcalan's lawyers have investigated and applied all legal possibilities to help their client to obtain his rights. If they have not been successful so far, it is not because of the lawyers, but course, because of the government that does not implement the applicable legal provisions in court decisions. And we know this from many other important cases that the Turkish government refuses to apply the law and the court decisions.
Thank you. So just to finish the CPT section, would like to ask you shortly that one as well. Even in the CPT's own reports, we can see there are mentions of torture in Imral Island. Despite
Yes.
this,
Mm.
if the CPT still doesn't go to Imrali and do a legal experts not seeing the Öcalan and inmates in there. So it's basically not developing their duty. So how can this be legally challenged against CPT? Is there any way, or this road is closed? Because
Mm.
CPT is one of the responsible commission, is the institution,
Yes.
but
Mm.
it doesn't work. So how is there any way in a legal frame to make the CPT work, basically? And also, you can talk about the last visit as well. They went to Turkey, but they didn't go to the Imral Island. So you can carry on from there.
Yes. Well, you know that in Turkey you have many prisons, and the prison conditions in other prisons are uh, need to be improved and need to be brought into line with the law. And therefore, I think it is good that the CPT visited also other prisons. And the CPT is still waiting for a reply by the Turkish government on the previous report on Imrali. They have been in Imrali, and they have been certainly, I'm sure they have um, made recommendations to the Turkish government to allow Mr. Öcalan to receive his lawyers and his families. So, and I'm sure that these possibilities are important. And so, but the lawyers of Mr. Öcalan, I'm sure they have to uh, try. Maybe they have to try again because, as far as I know, the court decisions. I mean, talking of the European Court of Human Rights, um, they don't say that explicitly that Mr. Don't order that there's no new court decision which orders that the government must allow Mr. Öcalan to see his lawyers and his family. But everybody knows that the refusal of the government to let him see his lawyers and his family is a violation of the law, a violation of Turkish law. It's a violation of European law. But
Thank you.
yes, please.
Yeah, thank you. So, as you said, it's a violation of the international law as well as
Yes.
the Turkish law as well. But everyone says that isolation is inhumane and it's a violation of law. But legally, nothing can be done, it seems like. So, what should be done? What can people do within the legal framework in Europe? Because Europe talks about democracy and human rights. So, if the law is uh, is does work in Europe, so what needs to be done for Öcalan to stop the isolation and stop that torture
Well, I
in a
think
legal
the
framework?
yes, I think the CPT could make use of Article 10, paragraph 2, which says if the party fails to cooperate, in this case Turkey, if it fails to cooperate or refuses to improve the situation in the light of the committee's recommendations, the committee may decide after the party has had an opportunity to make known his own views by a majority or two-thirds of his members to make a public statement on the matter. And I think this could be important, not legally, but politically, because if we should try to encourage the CPT to make such a statement, Of course, they need internally they need the majority of 2/3, but we should encourage the CPT to make such a statement and not to wait longer, because they know that the Turkish government doesn't want to cooperate. So the only one who could really maybe change the situation is not the Council of Europe. Of course, they could suspend the membership of Turkey in the Committee of Ministers. But I think the Council of Europe, they cannot impose economic sanctions, but the European Union could do this. So such a statement of the CPT could encourage also the European Union to impose economic sanctions on Turkey.
Thank you, Thomas. Also, would like to ask you that if there is anything else you would like to add on about the topic that we talk, especially also, do you think Öcalan has a key role to play for the Middle East? So, why Öcalan should be free? Also, anything else, as I said, anything else you would like to add on? Anything that we should know about the legal framework and how does the European system works, especially to free Mr. Abdullah Öcalan and legal fight against to the isolation. So please have your words.
I think the best help for Mr. Öcalan and for all other political prisoners in Turkey, because unfortunately there are many, elections will bring a political change in a way that these political um, prisoners in Turkey get released, and that they get a and that this system comes to an end. That political opposition means you end up in prison, and therefore you need the political change. And uh, I think this. I wish you very much. I wish Turkey very much that the Turkish people are able to achieve this political change and to achieve a more democratic system in Turkey.
Dear Thomas Schmidt, Co-Secretary General of the ELDH, thanks for joining us and thank you for your valuable comments today.
Thank you very much for the interview, and all the
Thank
best to you.